Hey, it's me. This is my second attempt at trying to do this, but this is my video on what child abuse is, as I've came across a video. I think her name was Little Loca or something like that, and she was just talking about child abuse and reading out statistics, and it was very emotional, as obviously child abuse is very emotional and physically draining when you think about it. So I'm going to be reading you some information from the handbook of the BC Handbook for Action on Child Abuse and Neglect. Basically, in British Columbia, we have a duty to report abuse or suspected abuse. Basically, I do believe this handbook is for child care providers and social workers and those who work with children, but I think it should go to the general population. So basically, the duty to report to report abuse or suspected abuse. Anyone who has reason to believe that a child has been or is likely to be abused or neglected has a legal duty under the Child, Family and Community Service Act to report the matter. How to report? Basically, you report to a child protection social worker in either a Ministry of Children and Family Development office or First Nations Child Welfare Agency that provides child protection services. I know things are different down in the States and all over the world. Basically, social workers, I'm sure those in other parts of the world know what that is. So those who look after the needs of children and others. So anyways, there's also the helpline for children in Canada, and the phone number is 310-1234. When I was younger, I was taught that it was Zenith 1234, dial O and ask for Zenith 1234, but that's not the case anymore. It's 310-1234. You don't need to put an error code before that. I don't believe so, because it's not here in my books. So anyways, just call that number and you can report any sort of suspicions or concerns that you have regarding a child. And the child protection social worker will determine if the child needs protection, contact the police if a criminal investigation is required, coordinate a response with other agencies if necessary. But if the child is obviously in immediate danger, police should be called to intervene immediately. And if the child protection social worker should be contacted to determine whether a child is in need of protection. So phone the police and social services, and they'll work together. Okay, on to what is abuse. There are 4 types of abuse. There is physical, it's 3:30 in the morning, I can't think right now. I should know this, I've done huge reports on it. There's physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and neglect. Physical abuse is a deliberate, non-accidental physical assault or action by an adult or significant older or more powerful adult that results or is likely to result in physical harm to a child. That includes the use of unreasonable force to discipline a child or to prevent a child from harming him or herself or others. The injuries sustained by a child may vary in severity and range from minor bruising, burns, welts, or bite marks to major fractures of the bone or skull, and its most extreme form, death of a child. Physical assault is a crime. Sexual abuse generally means any sexual use of a child by an adult or a significantly older or more powerful child. There are many criminal offenses related to sexual activity involving children. The Ministry of Children and Family Development states that sexual abuse is any behavior of a sexual nature towards a child, including one or more of the following: touching, for sexual purposes or intercourse, vaginally or anally, menacing or threatening sexual acts, obscene gestures, obscene communication or stalking, sexual references to a child's body or behavior by words or gestures, deliberate exposure of a child to sexual activity or material, so showing a young child pornography, for example. Emotional abuse is the most difficult type of abuse to define and recognize. It may range from humiliation of the child to withhold life-sustaining nurturing. It can include acts of omissions by those responsible for the care of a child or others in contact with a child that are likely to have serious negative emotional impacts. Emotional abuse may occur separately from or along with other forms of abuse and neglect. Emotional abuse can include patterns of scapegoating, rejection, verbal attacks on the child, threats, insults, or humiliation. And neglect involves an act of omission on the part of the parent or guardian that results or is likely to result in physical harm of the child. And it generally refers to situations in which a child has been or is likely to be physically harmed through actions or inactions by those responsible for care of the child. This may include failure to provide food, shelter, basic health care, or supervision and protection from risks to the extent that the child's physical health, development, or safety is harmed or is likely to be harmed. This also includes failure to thrive. Not always intentional, neglect may be the result of insignificant resources or other circumstances beyond a person's control. The Child, Family and Community Service Act states that a child needs protection if the child has been or is likely to be physically harmed due to the neglect by the child's parent. Failure to provide necessities, abandoning a child, and corrupting a child are crimes. Those are the 4 forms of abuse. I hope I educated you a little bit. So if you suspect a child who is being abused, please, 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 I beg of you, contact the authorities and report it, even if you're not 100% sure. That's all I ask. As a child advocate, that's what I ask. Child abuse needs to stop. Basically, educate those around you of what child abuse is and how to prevent it. It needs to stop.